So if you thought that your iPhone was getting iOS 19 later this year, you are wrong. And in this video, I want to discuss the big change coming to Apple's next iPhone software update, some fresh leaks, and more. So first off, the breaking news that we just got today is that Apple is planning to rebrand its software naming scheme for the first time in 15 years since Apple switched from iPhone OS 3 to iOS 4 back in 2010. And what exactly is the naming scheme change? Well, how about instead of iOS 19, we're getting iOS 26. Yes, iOS 26 as in the year 2026. And this comes from Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg, who says that Apple is planning the most sweeping change yet to its operating system names, part of a software overhaul that extends to all of its devices. And honestly, my first impression of this was that I really like this change because right now, if you think about it, everything is so spread out. Like we have iOS 18, we have watchOS 11, we have macOS 15, we have visionOS 2. Like there's just so many numbers that nothing is cohesive. It's kind of just all spread out. And it's very confusing unless you're somebody who watches my videos and you're really into these software updates. So instead, Apple is going to streamline the software so that everything is 26. So iOS 26, iPadOS 26, macOS 26, watchOS 26, and so on. You get it. So yes, even visionOS is going to go from visionOS 2 to visionOS 26. Quite the jump there, but that is to streamline everything and make everything just cohesive in terms of software naming. So these new software versions will all be unveiled, and the first beta will roll out for all of these at WWDC 2025, which takes place on June 9th. So we are very close to this. And of course, as of right now, this is technically still a rumor, although it does seem to be pretty legitimate given the fact that it comes from Mark Gurman, and also there was some stuff found in the code related to macOS 26. Now, if you don't understand why Apple is calling it 2026 instead of 2025, even though it's released in the year 2025, it's because they're releasing the software late in the year in September. So if you think about it, from September to September, you're going to be spending more time using iOS 26 in 2026 instead of in 2025, because you only have from September to December in 2025 to use it. So without making it seem outdated, Apple is labeling it as 2026, since you're going to be using it for many more months in 2026 than in 2025. It's the same thing that car manufacturers do. When car manufacturers release a new car model in the end of the year, like in the second half of the year, they almost always call it the next year. They call a 2025 model. Like if a car gets released in the end of 2025, it'll most likely be called a 2026. They'll label it as a 2026 model. So that's nothing new. Car manufacturers have been doing that for a long time, and I'm sure others have as well when it comes to software, but it looks like Apple will be switching over to that style. And I think that this naming scheme change also adds some validity to all the previous rumors that we've heard about Apple overhauling the software in terms of visual changes, how everything's going to be more cohesive. So iOS, watchOS, macOS are all going to be more cohesive. That aligns with this rumor as well, that everything's going to have the same name as in 2026. So because of that, I would absolutely expect to see some type of design overhaul for iOS 26, along with a more cohesive look in the settings for all of the software updates, not just the settings, like really all around through iOS, watchOS, visionOS. They're all going to have a very similar design style. I would also hope that we're going to see better settings in macOS to be more like it is on iOS, but we're just hearing that everything is going to be streamlined and very similar across the board, not just with the name, but also with the design language. So this whole naming scheme change to the software versions really has me thinking, is Apple going to give the iPhone the same type of naming scheme change this year? So will we maybe not see the iPhone 17? May it be something different this year? Maybe the iPhone 2026 or iPhone A19 and A19 Pro. Could that be what Apple does this year? Now, I do understand that it is a lot harder to rename something like the iPhone than the software that it runs. There's a lot more to it, so I don't think it's as easy to just change it like it is the software. But I mean, if you look at it right now, Apple does have this kind of naming scheme for the iPad and for the Mac. So it would not be too surprising it would not be anything brand new for Apple to change the naming scheme of the iPhone. However, we do not have any rumors of that being the case, but of course we will have a lot more time to see if those kind of rumors circulate as we get closer to that new iPhone's release, which is going to come in September. Now, we also have some insight into some potential features coming with iOS 26, and one of these is very interesting, and that is that we might be getting a dedicated gaming app in iOS 26. This comes according to Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg as well, and he says that the app will let Apple users launch games, plus it will have sections for in-game achievements, leaderboards, editorial content, and communication. And he did mention that Apple is also planning a Mac version of the app that can tap into games downloaded outside of the App Store. Now, we also got an interesting rumor from Android Authority that says that iOS 26 could make it easier for iPhone users to transfer an eSIM over to an Android phone. And this was actually found in the code of the Android 16 beta, so it references a new transfer to Android feature that could indicate an option that's going to be coming in iOS 26 to wirelessly transfer an eSIM from iPhone to Android. And then, of course, one of the biggest changes that we're expecting in iOS 26 is going to be the new AI-powered battery management mode. So this is something we've been hearing about for quite some time now, and apparently this is going to be a mode for all iPhone models, not just Apple Intelligence models, which is going to be pretty interesting how that's marketed. But it's essentially going to analyze how a person uses their iPhone to make adjustments to conserve energy. And it's also going to have that little indicator on the lock screen to indicate when your device is going to be fully charged. And we're also hearing from Mark Gurman that the AirPods might get a live translate feature with iOS 26. So he says the capability will work like this. If an English speaker is hearing someone talk in Spanish, the iPhone will translate the speech and relay it to the user's AirPods in English. The English speaker's words, meanwhile, will be translated into Spanish and played back by the iPhone. And of course, the big one that all eyes are going to be on is going to be the design changes coming with iOS 26 and all the other operating systems. So we're expecting to see the floating tab bar, kind of like we have on Vision OS with the Vision Pro, across the board in all applications. It'll kind of be a floating tab bar down there for, built-in menus and buttons. So that'll be nice. And we are also expecting to see Stage Manager for the iPhones as well. So if you're a fan of DeX on the Samsung phones, you might get something somewhat similar with Stage Manager on the iPhone. So that is the latest on iOS 26. And man, it's going to take some time to get used to saying that. But iOS 26, watchOS 26, macOS 26, what do you guys think about this naming scheme? Are you a fan of it? Are you not? People don't have a problem with it when it comes to cars and other, software companies that do this, but I'm curious what you think about it with the iPhone and of course all the other operating systems. I think it makes things a lot more streamlined and a lot easier for me, especially so I don't have to mess up in my videos and say a different number than what we're on. But what do you think about it? And also, do you think that Apple's going to switch the iPhone naming scheme now that they're changing the software naming scheme? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below, and also make sure you stay tuned for my WWDC 2025 coverage. We will have to wait and see Apple officially announce this on June 9th. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.